fiery horse with the speed of light, a cloud of dust, and a hearty hi-yo Silver, the Lone Ranger. With his faithful Indian companion, Tonto, the masked rider of the plains led the fight for law and order in the early western United States. The stories of his strength and courage, his daring and resourcefulness have come down to us through the generations, and nowhere in the pages of history can one find a greater champion of justice. Return with us now to those thrilling days of yesteryear. From out of the past come the thundering hoofbeats of the great horse Silver. The Lone Ranger rides again.
Come on, Silver! Hurry, big fellow! Hail, Silver! Ahoy!
The cafe in Sand Point was packed with the usual Saturday night crowd of ranchers and townspeople. While outside, near the hitch rack, Dan Reed was standing quietly beside his colt, Victor. He watched curiously as Mel Nugent, recently released from territorial prison, halted a tiny pony in front of the hitch rack.
Whoa there. Whoa. Waited 2 years for this. Now nothing's gonna stop me. Stand still, little fella. Stand still. There. Now to see if Doc Adams is inside. All right, kid, move out of my way.
Oh, I'm not in your way.
I said get out.
Well, I have as much right to stand here as you have.
Oh, smart kid, huh? I'll show you what
And this is your fault, not mine.
Tripped me, huh? Were you sneaking
Sure,
around?
I tripped you. I'm standing here by the hitch rack minding my own business. You started the argument.
I ain't got time to fool with you now, kid. I'll see you again, and don't you forget it.
Don't worry, I won't.
Who are you?
Say, that Mel Nugent just walked in?
Sure it is. Thought he was in territorial prison.
Guess you let him out. Looks like he's all steamed up for trouble.
Probably looking for Doc Adams.
That coyote Doc Adams in here.
I said, is Doc Adams in here?
You looking for me, Nugent?
Reckon I am. Reckon you know why.
Maybe.
You're the hombre that sent me to jail. You're the reason I spent 2 years in prison. One of them in solitary.
Yes, I'm responsible for you going to jail, Nugent. And I'd do it again.
You dirty
Why shouldn't I send you to jail? You stole my cattle, I caught you at it. You came back here to Sandpoint to be a law-abiding citizen, all well and good. You're still a crook, I'll do the same thing I did before.
You won't railroad me into jail again. You won't get a chance to.
Not if you stay honest.
I'll do whatever I want to. You won't have anything to do with it. Because you won't live that long.
So you've come gunning for me, is that it?
You catch on quick, Doc.
All right. You're welcome to try it.
Then fill your hand, you double-cross.
Wait a minute, boys. I've got you both covered.
Stay out of this, Sheriff.
There won't be any gunfighting in this town as long as I'm rodding the law around here.
Look here, you can't tell...
I happened to be outside, Mel, when you rode up the hitch rack. You were spoiling for trouble then, when the kid tripped you and gave you what you deserved.
Sure, we
That little ranny hand.
Wait, Sheriff. Maybe part of this is my fault, but I didn't start it.
I know you didn't, Doc.
I've never turned yellow in the gunfights yet, and I'm not going to start now.
You don't have to, Doc. There won't be any fight, because I'm chasing Mel Nugent out of town.
What's that? You can't run me out of town.
Why not?
Think because you're packing that tin badge, you can do anything, don't you?
You heard what I said, Nugent. Get moving.
You ain't got the right to turn me out of town. I've served my sentence. Law's got nothing on me.
Look, Mel, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. You've got a little place up in the valley. Go home and cool off. When you can come to town without wanting to fight, nobody'll stop you.
All right, Law Dog. You're holding the winning cards. Now, next time it might be different. You hear that, Adams?
I'll be waiting for you, Mel. Anytime you come a-gunning.
Maybe you will, and maybe you won't. Used to hide behind a lawman's pistol. That dirty nuke. There's that cocky kid that was out here.
Mel. Hey, Mel.
What? Who's there?
Step over here. There's something I want to tell you.
Yeah? Just who are you?
My handle's Jake Dietz.
I don't know you.
So what's the difference? I'm the foreman out at Doc Adams' spread.
Oh, one of Doc's gun hands, huh? All right, hombre, I'll
Wait
see.
a minute. Put that gun away. I don't want to fight with you. You'd be smart to get along with me.
Listen, I'm gonna gun whip that boss of yours if it's the last thing
It's all right with me.
What do you mean?
I got some scores I'd like to settle, too. Maybe you and me could get together.
Yeah? All right, start talking.
You used to live here in town. You remember Doc Adams' daughter?
Doc Adams' daughter? Say, didn't she marry an hombre named Clayt Summers?
That's right. But she would have married me if her old man hadn't butted in.
Yeah?
Between Adams and Clayt telling her what to do, they spoiled my chances.
I'm not interested in who you want to marry.
Oh, of course not. But if I'd had any luck with Alva, I'd be sitting pretty now. Father-in-law with almost every beef critter in the state belonging to me.
You got something in mind?
Yeah. Look, Doc had the law on his side when he sent you to prison, didn't he?
Yeah, that dirty moss.
How'd you like to use the law to get even with him?
Now you might be talking sense.
Mm-hmm. When I heard on what went on inside, I started thinking.
Yeah?
I think I got an idea that'll fix Doc for you. Get rid of Clayt from me and give me a chance to court the girl again.
What is it?
Climb on your cayuse. Let's do our talking away from town.
Suits me. You lead the way.
Maybe some of the trails around here have changed some while you've been away. Better stick close behind me.
Get up. Yeah, better.
After the incident he experienced in front of the Sandpoint Cafe, Dan Reed returned to the trailside camp he shared with the Lone Ranger. He explained the situation. And the following day, according to the Lone Ranger's instructions, reined up his horse in front of the Adams ranch house.
Oh, Victor, oh, boy. Oh. Doesn't seem to be here in the yard, Victor. I'll have to knock on a door.
Well, son, what can I do for you?
I'm looking for a job.
Job, huh? Now, don't tell me that a youngster like you is a full-fledged cowhand.
No, sir. I'm not big enough for that yet, but, well, there are a lot of odd jobs I could do around a ranch like this.
Yeah, you might be right at that. What's your name, son?
Dan Reed.
Well, then, how does $15 a month plus room and board sound to you?
Oh, golly. You mean I'm hired?
Well, that depends on how good you are with an axe on that wood pile over there.
Oh, gee, thanks for the job, Mr. Adams. I'll make that wood disappear so fast
Hey, boss, Mr. Adams.
What's wrong with it, Jake?
Boss, a
afraid there was some rustling here tonight.
What do you mean you're afraid there was some rustlers here?
Just made a count of the stock we cut out and had better down the corral.
They're still there, aren't they? I can see them from here.
Yeah, about a third of the critters are gone.
A third of
Come
them.
on over and count them.
I will.
Gee, Mr. Adams, if they're really gone, that's a tough break, isn't it?
Certainly is, Dan. A lot bigger loss than I can take.
Who's the kid? What's he doing here?
New handyman. I just hired him.
Oh. There. You know what the count was yesterday afternoon. Look at him now.
Yes. I'm afraid you're right, Jake. How could steers be rustled out of this corral without it? Isn't there any
Yeah, I
sign
picked
of
up a trail, all right.
Where?
And you can see where it starts, right over there by the corral gate. Varmints had rustled our beef, lit out straight east.
Yeah. Yes, you're right. The tracks are here.
What are you going to do, boss?
Do? That's a crazy question. Call the boys from the bunkhouse. We'll follow this trail till we find my steers.
A few moments later, every puncher on the Adams ranch was in the saddle and riding eastward, following the lead of Mr. Adams and Jake, his foreman. The tracks left by the small herd of cattle were easy enough to follow. But suddenly, Doc Adams reined up in surprise.
Oh, boy.
Hold on there. What's the matter, boss?
Can't understand this.
What?
This trail is leading right to my son-in-law's place. Clayton Elvin's spread.
Hey, it is, ain't it?
That can't be right.
Clayton ain't too well off, is he, boss?
No, but he ain't no thief.
Well, that's the same thing folks said about Mel Nugent till he was caught. You remember?
My son-in-law ain't no Mel Nugent.
Of course, it's none of my business, but I've been hearing some talk about Clayt the last few weeks.
What kind of talk?
Well, I heard it said that he figures you ought to help him stock his range, seeing as you're his wife's pa.
I don't believe in that sort of thing. Young fellas should stand on their own feet.
Sure, I think so, too. Understand, boss, I'm only telling you what I heard.
Hey, look over there in that drawer. Ain't that my stock?
Why, sure it is. At least I think so.
Yeah, my cattle, all right. I can read the brands from here.
This is Clayt's range, too. Or maybe it's just an accident.
It's no accident. Cow critters don't wander out of a locked corral.
What are you going to do, boss?
Clayt's house is just over the rise. I think I'll ask him some questions.
If I was you, I'd do the same thing.
Get in there. Get in.
Round up them critters, boys, and herd them home. Me and the boss are going to keep on riding. Get up, you coyotes. Want me to ride along with you, boss?
Yeah, might as well. I can't believe that Clay would turn rustler, but I'm sure going to find out.
I don't blame you. Don't blame you at all.
Oh, boy.
Whoa there.
Don't see Clay around anywhere.
Must be inside. There's a saddle on the porch.
Come on. I'll find out about this.
Hi, hello, Mr. Adams. You're quite a stranger. Come on in.
No, thanks. I'll do my talking right here.
What's the matter?
Clayt, what a herd of my cattle doing on your range, over in that draw beyond the hill?
What?
Pa, what's the trouble?
I'll tell you the trouble, Elder. Close to 35 of my cows were stolen last night. I trailed them right over here.
Oh, no, that can't be possible.
I just saw them, not over 30 minutes ago.
Maybe they just strayed, Pa.
Out of a locked corral.
Oh, wait a minute, Mr. Adams. You trying to say that I rustled that stuff?
Well, to tell the truth, I don't know what to think. The beef was stolen. I found it over here.
Pa, you must be crazy to think that Clayt would steal your cattle.
I always figured you were square, Clayt.
You know I wouldn't steal.
I'll tell you this much. If I found this much evidence against anyone else but you, I'd shoot first and then ask the questions.
Pa, you don't know what you're saying.
Makes sense, don't it?
I never rustled your steers.
Maybe. Anyway, this time I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. Next time, it'll be different.
If you're crazy enough to think that I'm crooked, you can do what you like.
Clayt, Pa, please don't.
I've got one more thing to say, Clayt. If I'm going to have trouble with rustlers, this range is going to bust wide open. And don't you forget it.
The curtain falls on the first act of our Lone Ranger story. Before the next exciting scenes, please permit us to pause for just a few moments.
Now to continue our story. Mel Nugent, recently released from territorial prison, had returned to the scene of his former crimes and had taken as his partner Jake Dietz. Both of these outlaws hatched a plot to incriminate Clayt Summers, Doc Adams' son-in-law, in the rustling of Doc's cattle. The first step in their plan went without a hitch, for Adams found his missing cattle on Clayt's range and told the young man that should it happen again, he'd take drastic action. So the outlaws planned to make this rustling happen again. And late the following night, Jake Dietz waited on horseback beside a small herd of cattle on a remote part of the Adams range.
I wonder why he doesn't show up. Almost midnight and... Oh, maybe this is him. That you, Mel?
Yeah. Oh, steady there.
Where you been? I've been out here since
Long
10.
ride over here from my place. Hey, these are critters we're going to take along?
Yep.
Where are we going to plant them? Can't leave them over in that drawer again.
No. Got a better idea.
What is it?
I guess you know Clayt's got a trail herd rounded up to take over to the railroad tomorrow.
Heard about it.
Well, these critters are going to be part of that herd.
Smart idea. Let's get going. Come on, you dumb cow critters. Get up!
The following morning, just as Jake Dietz had planned it, it didn't take long for Doc Adams to discover that some more of his cattle were missing. As soon as he had verified the suspicion that the tracks of the stolen herd headed again toward the east, he turned his horse and raced back to his ranch.
Who there you? Hey, Tex, Sandy, Pete. They get to that bunkhouse.
Wait a minute, boss. Something wrong. Too early to straddle the front.
Slap leather onto your horses. We're going to ride.
What's up, boss?
Horse stock rustled, and the tracks lead right over to Clayt's place again.
Oh, can't believe it.
I can. Saw it with my own eyes.
Hey, that reminds me of something.
What?
Up in town last night, I heard that son-in-law of yours is starting a trail herd this morning, taking some beef over the railroad to ship east.
He ain't shipping any of my beef. Any move on, you boys.
Maybe your cows are with that herd.
If that sidewinder Clayt figures he can steal me blind just because he married my daughter, he's going to find out different. Come on, let's ride. Get up.
In the meantime, Clayt Summers was just finishing breakfast at his home.
Oh, mighty good breakfast, Elva. Mighty good.
I'm glad you liked it, Clayt.
I've got a lot of riding to do this morning. Better be pushing along.
You have to make such an early start.
Shucks. This isn't early, Elva. Most of my punchers have been at work since long before sunup. Should have the trail herd started by now. I'll have to ride to catch up with them.
How long do you think you'll be gone, Clayt?
Oh, shouldn't take more than a week. Why, Elva?
One way, I'm kind of glad you'll be away for a while.
What's that?
Why, I'm just thinking of the way Pa acted when he was over here the other morning. I can't imagine what got into him. But it might be just as well if the two of you didn't meet again for a while.
I couldn't figure it out. I still can't see how your Pa figures I'd rustle his cattle.
One way, you can hardly blame him. I guess it did look bad. For us, I mean.
I'd like to know how any of your Pa's cows got over here in my range.
The way Pa acted, it's got me worried.
Oh, he's probably all over it by now. And your Pa's the first one to admit it when he does make a mistake. There's nothing to worry about.
I hope so. I wonder who that can be.
Oh, no. Not the boys with the herd. They wouldn't be riding back here unless something's wrong.
I'll go and see him. Pa, we were just...
Where's you, Clayt Summers?
Now what's wrong?
As if you didn't know. Where are they?
Where's what?
You know what I mean. Where the cows you hazed out of my corral again last
Sir
night.
Adams, you must be loco.
Gotta drill the thieving coyote, boss.
That's why I come over here. But first, I want to know where my stock is.
Pa, listen to me. How can you say Clayt stole your cows?
I know it because I followed that trail to where Clayt had his herd last night.
What? You mean you found your cattle in my herd?
No, I didn't. That's why I'm here.
But
we caught up with your herd, but didn't find my cattle. Guess you figured it would be the first place I'd look, eh?
Of all the loco things I've ever heard.
He's crooked, boss, and he knows it. I always said he was no good.
Sure you did, Jake. I'm just wondering whether you've got a hand in this someplace.
Why,
Don't try to put the blame on somebody else, Clayt. We've got you dead to rights.
I tell you, I've never stolen anything.
You're a sneaking liar.
I don't care if you are Elvis Pa. You can't talk to me that way.
I figure it doesn't matter how you talk to rustlers.
Plug 'em, boss.
You stay out of this, Jake. It's none of your affair.
Are you going to tell me where you hid them cows, or do I have to gun whip the truth out of you?
The truth is what I've already told you. I don't know.
Then by Jupiter...
Pa, please don't.
Mr. Adams.
What are you doing here?
It's a kid you hired to do odd jobs. Now get out of here, kid. This is none of your business.
That's right, run along.
But, Mr. Adams,
I've got no time to bother with you now. You're fired. Get back to the ranch and draw your pay.
Well, I wanted to show you something, Mr. Adams. I'm sure you'd be interested.
Get out of here. The only thing I'm interested in now is cattle, stolen cattle.
That's what I'm talking about. I know where they are.
What? What did you say?
Nothing but a harebrained kid, boss. Don't listen to him. Now, if you don't get out of here,
Do you
I'll...
really know where the stolen cows are?
Yes, ma'am.
I tell you, the kid's loco. Loco or not, I'm going to find out what he's got to show before I stand here and listen to myself being accused of rustling.
How come you know so much about it?
If you'll all just come with me, I'll show you.
Well, what are we waiting for? Let's go. Boss, I'm sure this is a trick of some kind.
If it is a trick, it'll be the last one.
Well, I know how serious this is. Why should I play any tricks?
You'd better not.
My horse is just outside. Come on. We'll all ride together.
We sure will. And if it ain't proved that you had nothing to do with this, Clayt, I'm dealing with you myself, understand?
It isn't very far.
Come on.
Dan Reed led the group directly to where Clayt's herd had been bedded down the night before. He then pointed out that the tracks of the stolen cows circled the bedded herd and continued on eastward. The men pressed forward, discovering at last that the trail led to the tumble-down ranch of Mel Nugent. As they neared Mel's shack, Clayt gave out a shout.
Hey, this is Mel Nugent's place. There he is, running away.
Yes. He cut out of the house when he saw us coming.
He's heading for his horse.
Blow a hole through that critter then.
No, wait. If you can take him without shooting, it'll be better. He wasn't in this all alone.
How can we get a hold of
Let
him?
me try my rope before you start shooting. Get up, Victor.
Don't let the varmint get away, kid.
Come on, Victor.
Responding to the cry of his young master, Victor, the mighty son of silver, raced ahead with the speed of wind. The outlaw had a good start and a good horse, but he was no match for the white stallion that kept slowly but steadily closing the gap between them. Nugent's head was bent low over the neck of his horse, and he no longer looked back at his pursuer. If he had, he'd have seen Dan still traveling at top speed, but slowly and carefully uncoiling just the right amount of his lariat.
Now, Victor. Steady, boy. If I can get this rope swinging, I... There.
Throw a rope on me, you dirty little
You won't do anything unless you want to be pulled off that horse. Oh, Victor.
Let me out of this!
We got a kid. That's great. Nugent, you better climb off that bronc peaceable-like. Because I've got an itchy finger.
That little...
Hey, look, Mr. Adams. There's your stock back there in Mel's corral.
Yep, that's it, all right.
It can't be, boss. There must be some mistake.
I ain't blind, Jake.
Jake, you double-crossing rotten skunk. You frame me into this.
Wait a minute. Who's this coming?
Must be an owl hoot. He's wearing a mask.
Ho, Silver, ho, ho!
Who are you? Part of this cattle rustling gang?
That a big fella?
No, I'm not, Mr. Adams. You did a good job, Dan. You're getting better with the rope all the time.
Gee.
I don't understand this. A masked outlaw rides up here.
I'm not an outlaw.
Do you know this kid, Dan Reed?
Yes, very well.
Did you have anything to do with my cows being stolen like that pulled cat over there?
Well, I had something to do with it. I didn't steal your cattle, Mr. Adams.
And how'd they get here? Well, Nugent, I sent you to jail once for rustling my stock, and I'm going to do it again. This time for keeps.
I never brought those cows up here.
And who did?
That gent right there.
Somebody's lying around here, and I aim to find out who it is.
Now, maybe I can explain it, Mr. Adams. You see, your cows were with Clayt's herd last night. They would still be there if Dan and I hadn't cut them out and driven them up here.
And it was you who
The
drove that...
important thing is how the stock left your corral originally.
That's right.
That was accomplished through the combined efforts of Mel Nugent and Jake, your foreman.
Listen, no outlaw's going to accuse me of rustling.
You see, like most thieves, they were both trying to double-cross each other. I suspected it, so I had Dan take a job on your ranch.
Well, I'll be...
Jake knew that Mel and you were gunning for each other and hoped that one or both of you would get killed.
So it was you, Jake, who was double-crossing me all the time.
I'm fairly sure that Jake's principal motive was to start a fight between you and Clayt. Then marry your daughter and inherit the ranch.
Oh, you dirty sidewinder. I ought to...
Mel was to get the cattle. Jake would profit from a feud. When Dan and I found it out, we merely removed the cattle to a safe place.
Jumping juniper. How was that?
Get your hands in the air, all of you.
What's that, Clayt?
You better not holster that gun, Jake.
I'm not going to.
I'll have to use a stronger argument.
My arm.
You're not hurt. That's just a scratch. You want more?
No, don't shoot.
I got your message. It came out right away.
Good. There they are, Sheriff. Mel Nugent and Mr. Adams, ex-foreman. You can handle them, can't you?
Sure. I've got some steel cuffs, specially made for these hombres.
And our job's done. Come on, Dan.
Sure.
Adios.
Adios, masked man. It's all too mixed up for me to figure out. A hired kid to chop wood, and a masked outlaw gets back my cattle for me.
Well, you've got the stock. Proof that I didn't steal them.
I'm sorry, Clayt. I guess I'm just a hot-headed old fool.
Oh, no worse than I am. I would have felt the same way.
But that still don't tell me. I know the boy's name is Dan Reed. But who's the masked gent?
Well, I thought you knew, Doc. He's the Lone Ranger.
Hail Silver! Away!
The story you have just heard is a copyrighted feature of the Lone Ranger Incorporated.
You've been listening to the OTR Gold Network. Find more classic radio at otrgold.com.